Okay, so welcome back to another YouTube video. Another week has gone by, so another video coming at you. You can probably already guess by the title what I'm about to talk about for a bit. I thought, I'm a bit nervous to talk about it, not gonna lie, because I haven't talked about it on any of my social medias at all. Definitely not Instagram, and definitely not YouTube as well. So this will be the first time that I've openly talked about it and let people know outside of my circle about it. So it's quite a sensitive, well, it's not a sensitive topic in my circle. It's not, it's talked about on a daily basis, but I think for outsiders and people who aren't into bodybuilding or any sort of in the fitness industry at all, it's quite a sensitive, look down type of topic to talk about. So I thought I'd just talk about my experiences, why I chose to go down this route, and yeah, just open up a bit more about it and let you into a bit more about me and my choices and why, really. So but before we get into this, I'm not at all advising anyone to go down this route, in case people start to think that I am. I'm really not. I really don't advise anyone to do it, really. And I would never, tell someone to do it at all or give them positive information about it and tell them what to do, really. So please don't take any of my information as serious, or take it into your own life and try and replicate it, because that's not what this video is here for. It's just entertainment purposes only. So I just thought I'd get that out of the way first. But yeah, let's start from being natural and going into be a enhanced athlete, really. So I was natural for, I'd say, six years. So from the age of 17 to, it would have been 22. So I'm going to be, completely honest with everything I talk about. I'm not going to leave any stone unturned when I explain myself. I don't think there's any reason to at all. I've always been the type of person to, if someone asks me, are you a steroid user? Are you on cycle? I always, give them the honest answer, which is yes, I am. I don't really understand. Well, I do somewhat. The people that say, if they're on cycle and they're using, that they say they're not, because obviously some people have sponsorships and work with certain companies that might not want them to say that they're on steroids or steroid users. So I understand that, but if you're just a normal person training, bodybuilding, there's no reason to lie at all, I don't think. So I'm going to be completely honest in this and just tell you what is and my experiences through it. So I started bodybuilding when I was 16, 17, and I stayed natural till I was 22. So I had a good, 5-6 years of solid training, to the point where, I was ending up, when I was around 20, 21, 22, really got my act together and really started seriously training, logging everything. Diet was on point, training was on point. I made sure that everything was underlined and dotted before I even thought about going down the route of steroids. It was always in my mind from the age of 17, 18, because I obviously researched bodybuilding and looked into it very, very deeply. And I obviously knew that the bodybuilding pros, they were all users of it. And I was actually, when I was 17, 18, I was very against steroids. And I always said, I'm going to stay natural. I'm going to stay natural. I don't need to use these drugs at all. And I think it was only till I started digging deeper into bodybuilding, bodybuilding became much more of a passion of mine. And it became, if people know me, it's kind of like my obsession. I live and breathe it. So obviously, once you get into that, it's kind of obvious that you want to go down the route of competing and wanting to be the best, which is what I want to do. And you know, the only way really, if you're going to want to go into bodybuilding and be a competitor and actually compete with the best and try and win shows and try and obviously pro cards and stuff and potentially go into pro shows, you know, you are going to have to use steroids. There's no real question about it. So yeah, I did 5-6 years training naturally. I got, you know, I was very, I think for a, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, I was very, you know, I was pretty naturally strong. So I was able to pack on, you know, a fair bit of size through making sure that my diet was on point, making sure that I was eating enough, making sure that I was training hard enough, researching into different training programs and learning from the best who were out there at that time in terms of coaches online, like your Hanny Rambods and stuff like that. I watched a lot of him. And then obviously like your bodybuilders, like Jay Cutler was the main one for me. I think I've spoken about this before, but he was a big influencer in terms of nutrition. He was like my first insight into what I should be eating, what I should be training. And it kind of just, you know, led from there. And like I said, the obsession got deeper with my training and nutrition and just bodybuilding in general. And then once I started getting older, when I was like going past my 20s, 20, 21, 22, I did start to think about it a bit more, because obviously, you know, you are going to reach a natural limit. And I knew when I was in my early 20s that bodybuilding is quite a short career. You know, you're seeing people now who are in their late 30s start talking about retirement. And that's a very short career if you think about it. So I knew I kind of had to act pretty fast when I was in my when I was in my early 20s, and I was very, very glad and that I didn't dabble in anything in those 5 to 6 years. I think, you know, it shouldn't even cross your mind to start any sort of cycle or go into steroids when you're 1, 2, 3, even, you know, 4 years into your training. There's no point. You need to build up some sort of natural physique. You need to get used to eating your 6, 7 meals a day. Get used to training at an intensity to where you can put on size naturally, and at a point where you're very comfortable with training at that intensity, and be able to have everything ticked off in terms of sleep, nutrition, training, supplementation. The list is pretty endless. You know, muscle work, getting massages done. This is if you want to, you know, try and make a career out of it or make something of yourself or try and win shows. I think you've got to have these things ticked off before you even start to think about going on your first cycle. So I was at the age, I think it was the first lockdown, when I decided, I think it was just before when I decided to go on cycle, and I was 22, which I think, looking back now, I'm 24 now, I think that was a very good call, a good age. I was when I was natural, so my peak weight when I was natural, I was 240 pounds natural. So I think, you know, looking back, I definitely made sure that I added enough tissue, and I think I built up some decent a very, very good foundation to be able to go on cycle. I think if I was much lighter than that, I would have spent more time being natural and training and eating, because I knew how much I had to eat, because I'm tall, I'm 6'2", so I knew I had to eat a lot. I knew my calories had to be very high, and at that point I was doing my own training and my own nutrition, so I hadn't have a coach when I was natural. I just researched and, you know, learned by myself and found ways to do it. So I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so when I was natural, didn't have a coach, did it all by myself. And then once I'd decided, I had a lot of chats with a lot of people on this subject for, you know, over a few years. You know, it wasn't just a split second thought, okay, I'm going to do it, let's go. It was a lot of talks, a lot of thinking, a lot of researching, a lot of reading into, you know, what is this? At that time, I had no real, obviously knew what it did, but I had no real understanding of how, or yeah, just basically how it all worked, what you had to use, the different compounds that were out there. So I researched all that, did a lot of reading on all that stuff, and kind of just came to the conclusion that, you know, my end goal is to try and be the best that I can, and I really want to see how far I can take this, and how far I can push my body. I think still being young at 24 now, well, starting when I went on cycle I was 22. I think it was a good age to start being young and being able to pack on a decent amount of tissue for the last 2 years now. So like I said, I was natural. So just before I started my first cycle, I was 240 pounds or 242 or something. 2 years later, which is now, it's probably around the same time actually, which is now, I am 275, but leaner. So I think my body reacted well to what we used, and we obviously, I'm not going to give any sort of doses on here or tell you what my stack design was, because I don't want people to go away and just start that, because everyone's completely different. Your stack design will be completely different to what I was using, and you'll start on completely different pretty much. But we started very, very, very low, a very low dosage of testosterone, and that was it. That was it probably for the first, I'd say, for the first 12, 14 weeks or more, I think. I can't really remember, but I definitely remember that went on for quite a while, where we just did test, and I managed to pack on some really good size with that. Obviously, as you introduce new compound to the body, and your training's good and nutrition's good and everything's going to plan, you are going to pack on a lot of size in the first cycle that you do. So at that time, when I decided to go on cycle and have my first go at steroids, that is when I got a coach, who is Luke Porter, out of Elite Strength and Performance. So we've been working together now for the last 2 years, and it's going really, really, really well. I couldn't be more happy with what we've done over the last 2 years. I think we've pretty much transformed my body in terms of size, structure, everything really. The amount I've learned over the last 2 years about nutrition, about training, about the steroids is endless, and I can't thank Luke enough for what the knowledge that he's given me inside and outside the gym. So it's really good to be able to work with someone like that who knows his shit. And but yeah, that was when I was 22. Got my coach with Luke, and we've just been going on ever since. And that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, when you do, if and when you do decide that you maybe want to try a cycle, I think you should have a coach. I think you should have a coach, even if you don't sign up to them monthly. I think there should be a person that you go and get advice from, who is close. Maybe it's in your local gym, maybe it's a friend or anything. I think you should have that second person to bounce ideas off or ask for opinions. I think, I don't think you should ever do this by yourself and not have anyone else know about it. I was very, very lucky to have Luke and the people, everyone at Elite that I can speak to about it, because we were, spoken about openly, and I'm very lucky to be in a position where I have those people in my life that I can just talk to about anything really. But yeah, moving on. So that was the first cycle. and obviously my decision was made. And obviously the decisions that you've got to make when you do choose to go on your first cycle is this, you know, you could be doing this for the rest of your life. I think that was the biggest one that I thought about for a very long time. Like I said, this wasn't just like a split decision, or it wasn't a rash idea that just came to my head and I decided to do. It was, you know, a good year, 2, 3 years of thinking about it, and thinking about if I was going to take the plunge or not, because obviously it's a very serious decision to make. You know, it could be life changing. You know, you got to take into a lot of factors that come alongside it. You got to think, okay, how am I going to deal with if I get some of the side effects? Luckily, I haven't had any, touch wood. Maybe only some minor ones, but I think I've been very lucky on that point, and my body's reacted to it very well. But you know, there are decisions that you have to make, and I think you have to be in a good position in your life to be able to make those decisions. And obviously, it's just got to come from you. At the end of the day, the decision has to come from you, and you know, it can't come from anyone else telling you what to do. You've got to make the decision. It's your life. You know, you've got to live it how you want to live it. And my decision was made solely because I want to take this as far as I can take it. And I knew that the people that I wanted to compete against and who I'm probably going to compete against, I knew they were users. You know, everyone on that bodybuilding stage are users, because why wouldn't you if someone else is? It only makes it fair if everyone's using. So you know, that was my kind of decision that I had to make. Now, if we talk about a bit on the safety of these drugs that we use, we are using them in the safest way as possible. You know, these drugs can be harmful, and they can cause detriment to the body in a way. If you abuse them, that's what can happen. But if you take it seriously and you are very exact with how you go about it, then they can be safe. They can be safe. And if you take your precautions and, you know, you're taking your health supplements like that can help the liver, kidneys, heart, and everything like that, you know, there's a way to make it safe. And I think, you know, the stories you hear, or the stories people hear that aren't into bodybuilding, are always bad. And you hear people, you know, having heart attacks and all this, and you know, there's got to be somewhere down the line where they weren't taking it very seriously, or they weren't being as safe as they could. So I think there is a safe way of doing it. Obviously, it's not the healthiest thing in the world. Bodybuilding is not the healthiest sport in the world, because obviously of the steroids, but you know, there is a way to mitigate that damage and try and protect yourself with these health supplements. And getting blood work done as well was a big one. We get a lot of blood work done when we do a phase. If we do like a 12-week phase, we'll get one done at the end, and then we'll go into a cruise. We might do a blood work done then, just have a look and see what everything's going on. And we use Medichecks for that. So they're very good. They give you a whole panel of information that you can read. They give you a little doctor's report at the end. So that's really good. It just keeps us on track, and, you know, basically just tells us what to look out for if anything's going wrong. Which, you know, if you're not abusing them, nothing should really go wrong. You might get slightly high, I don't know, for example, cholesterol, or slightly high something else. But you can mitigate that with using health supplements and just being changing something up in the diet or whatever. So there are ways to help you, you know, live a very healthy life, as healthy as you can. So I just wanted to make that point. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to leave it there, really. I think I've said all I want to say. I definitely feel a bit more settled during the video after, you know, opening up and speaking about it a bit more. But I think it's good to do so. I think a lot of people don't do it, and they should speak about their experiences. And you know, I've only really just started. You know, I'm only 2 years into it, and you know, there's a lot of people out there who are 10, 15 years into it. So it'd be interesting to see what my video would look like in 10 to 15 years time. You know, because I do want to take it that far and as far as I can, and do bodybuilding for as long as possible, and be a competitive bodybuilder as well. I'm not just doing this to stand on stage and come 10th. I'm doing it to stand on the stage and demolish everyone and win. So, but yeah, I thought I'd just, you know, do this video, open up a bit more, let you in, because I always felt like when I was doing videos and talking about stuff, I wasn't able to really give you the full picture of what's going on, because obviously you have phases in your training where you do 12-week blasts or 12-week push, and then you have a 4 to, you know, you might do a 6 to 8 week cruise where you come down and use a lot less dosages of steroids. You know, it does play a part, but I think what I want to finish on is just the main aspect of bodybuilding before we even talk about steroids is your training and nutrition. That has to be on point. I think if that is not on point, there's no point, there's no point in you taking any sort of form of steroid at all. Training and nutrition, sleep, water, everything like that outside has to be on point before you even think about it. And that's what I did. I made sure that when I was younger, you know, 20, 21, 22, I made sure all those points, because I knew what was coming. I knew I was going to eventually go on cycle. I knew that. So I knew I had to get all these things in line, that, you know, be consistent every single day. Don't miss a meal. Don't miss a training session. Making sure sleep is on point every night. Making sure I'm getting enough recovery. And then we can start thinking about it, because it would just be a waste of time. You know, you're not going to get the results you want. You know, the main results come from training and nutrition. You know, the steroids only give you that slight little edge that you need to push over the you know, the natural limit. So, you know, you got to have those things in line first before you even think about starting. I think, anyway, that's my opinion. I think if they're not in line, you shouldn't even dabble at all. You know, it's not, one, it's gonna be a waste of money and your time, and you're just gonna detriment your health. So it's pretty pointless, really. But yeah, I'm gonna finish there. I think I've said what I want to say, and hopefully you've kind of learned and understood something from this. You know, this was my decision. I decided to do this 2 years ago, and it was all because I wanted a goal. I had a goal set in mind when I was 17 to try and, you know, stand on that Olympia stage. And we're chasing it. We're chasing the goal. The days are counting down. You know, and you know, I'm looking forward to the next few years of progress and what is to come. But I just thought it'd be interesting for people watching just to learn a bit more about me, because I've never actually mentioned this on any sort of video or anything. I don't think I mentioned the word. So you know, I thought I'd just outline my experiences and what I went through, and my decisions that I had to make, and my mindset through the whole process. You know, I'm still very early days in this, so I'll probably do another video in a few years on an update on how everything's going. But I hope you enjoyed this little snippet, and I'm sure I'll talk about it in future videos. But if you do have any questions about anything I talked about, please just leave a comment below, and I will, you know, be more than happy to get back to you, and we can just discuss a few things in the comment section. So don't hesitate to ask me a question. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, do what you need to do, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.